Hello, welcome to the Divorce TV show live stream. And today I have Celia Conrad, she's many forms of coaching, but the bit we're going to talk about mostly is her work in helping couples who are dealing with not just divorce, but individuals wanting to start over and move forwards. But we'll also talk a little bit about the other work that she does and her background, which is very pertinent. Hello, Celia. Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And first thing I wanted to ask you about is there's so many different kinds of coaches and forms of coaching that it can be a bit confusing. So just to start with, explain in relation to Best Way to Divorce, what coaching do you do? Who is it that you help the most?
Well, I come from a legal background and I was a family lawyer for many years. And obviously I gravitate well to the divorce coaching forum because of that. And really, what I do is I'm really helping couples or people who are struggling to heal from the pain of breakup and personal loss. And it's really a case of getting them unstuck, getting them move forward, rebuilding their life, getting clarity and strategy, and having a happier life again. Because I think a lot of people feel when they're in that divorce situation that they're stuck forever and they can't move forward and they're never going to be happy again. And you can move out the other side. And obviously we're all living proof of that as well. So, bringing in my personal experiences of, heartbreak and loss as well as my professional ones. And I think the combination of that works really well with clients in helping them with their issues and helping them move forward.
And with your legal background, because I've met others who have a legal background, but actually it turns out that it was nothing, no disrespect to them, but nothing to do with family law. But yours wasn't it?
Yes, it was a specialist family solicitor. Yes.
And
So
what was
obviously
that
I
like?
Do you want the honest answer, or should I just give you well, it was a stressful job. You are taking on board people's problems and, you feel that. But I always wanted to help people. The part of the reason why I did that job was because I don't like people in pain and I wanted to help people get out of pain. But it's obviously a very, varied job. Obviously there's a lot of divorce, but you're also dealing with the children issues. And I found that I was coaching clients a lot, even when I was working as a family lawyer. In terms, I had one particular client I remember that, her husband had gone off several years before and she couldn't accept the fact the marriage was over. And her father was saying to me, please, Celia, please talk to her and tell her, persuade her, and I said, well, I'm not going to persuade her, but I'm going to talk to her and talk it through. And I was really coaching her as to how she was going to go, where her life was going to go, how she was going to get from where she currently was to where she wanted to be, and what she had to do for that and what needed to change. So really, I was coaching a lot when I was working as a family lawyer. But obviously, the thing is that when clients are emotionally charged, they cannot give instructions clearly, because you cannot make decisions about such huge matters when you're in an emotional state, you're overwhelmed, stressed, can't see things clearly. And that's really what coaching does. It helps people. It takes, because they also have behaviors. They're not conscious of things that they're doing, and you're helping them really change. And you see huge transformations with clients, and it's amazing when they come to you when they are in that emotional overwhelm, and then at the end they rebuild their life, and it's amazing to see, and it's actually very rewarding. And so I enjoy it. I really enjoy what I do. I did enjoy my work as a family lawyer. I really did. I felt it rewarding, but it's a different angle. And now it's quite interesting when I'm there often as the sort of like spectator watching the lawyer with the clients. And obviously the client likes me to be there as well. And I'm like not giving the legal advice, but also I know the process, and the client feels reassured that I know what's going on.
And that
So I
must be
can then
particularly
explain things.
helpful if people are having to do DIY and where they're
Yes.
trying to do, and they just need they don't necessarily need a Mackenzie friend who's going to stand up with them in court, because ideally they were going to avoid court. You don't have to. Please listen,
Absolutely. Yes, you
everybody.
need to
You
avoid
do
court at
not
all
have to
costs.
go to court just because you're
Yes,
doing DIY. I think that's often
absolutely.
a lot of confusion. But actually, it's even more important then to have some coaching support there, because it's quite scary, isn't it?
Mm. The whole process is daunting. I mean, I know they've tried to make changes and they're even trying to change the language that they use, the words, make it simpler and all that stuff. But it's still daunting and it's emotionally overwhelming for people. And if the legal process itself, that the whole way it works is actually for someone who doesn't understand it or doesn't know anything about it. And I have to remind myself sometimes, even with clients, because they're asking me questions which to me, obviously, because that's easy because I know the answer. But if you don't know the answer, then it's not. And then it's like it's the reassurance as well. And I think as well for me, what they like is the fact that I can help them with divorce admin. That helps them a lot. That saves a lot of costs. So I can assist them right through really until such a point where maybe if they did have to go to court, which we hope we don't, then they would obviously I can then help them get representation, like direct access to barristers or recommendations for lawyers. And I never would recommend anyone I don't know or I haven't worked with, because it's not just, oh, you're in that particular area, I'll just look that up and then recommend. No, it doesn't work that way. I have to feel that it has to be the right fit for the client as well. But most of the time we can avoid that. So most of the work can be done without actually having a lawyer. And I say that, well, they do in
Well,
a way have a lawyer
yeah,
because obviously I am legally qualified. But yeah,
because
yeah,
it's true, isn't it? Because it's like people always look askance at me when I say yeah, I'm certainly not anti-lawyer. I have a
no,
limited number of lawyers I'm happy to refer to, but actually most of the time you don't really need one. I mean, getting some basic legal advice early on is a good
yeah.
idea, and there might be specific things you need them to do if the other person is just messing about, but otherwise the idea
Well,
is to
yes,
reduce the amount that you need them. So basically it's a
and
cost
actually,
saving if they can do
it
that. That's
is
huge.
absolutely. And I think it's also building up what I do with like clients who come to me sooner rather than later. When they come at any stage, before they want to split, if they want to amicably, and then you can help them with that. If they're about to, even when they're on the journey. But at the beginning, it's really good because I can help them get a team, a support network around them. So if that stage when they're telling me their story, because obviously they're talking to me about what's happened, and I see red flags, particularly obviously legal ones, because obviously I'm going to see coaches who aren't legally qualified, and that's just the way that it is. I will then I can point them in the right direction. If there's also safeguarding issues and things like that, then obviously I did obviously I've coached in abuse as well. I'm certified in that as well as obviously being legally qualified in it. So I can help people with that as well. So I think there are a lot of, things to think about, but I can help them, it takes the pressure off them so they're not having to think about it. So I can say, okay, we'll get your support network together. And it's really important that people have a support network when they start out so that it gets them on the right footing moving forward, because it's all time saving and cost effective to do that, as opposed to oh, it's all escalated and I've gone to court, and actually you didn't need to. We could have dialed down all that negative emotion and avoided it. So yeah, that's
And when
to
people sort of hear that you have a family law background, a question they might ask is, well,
mm.
why don't you carry on being a family lawyer as well at the
Yeah, I
same
do.
time?
I've actually had quite a few clients saying to me, "Oh, I need representation. Oh, but why can you now do it for me? It'd be so nice for you to do it, because why did you give it up? Because we need lawyers like you in the system." It's interesting, but um, my hope is that we can actually take more people out of the system, and then I can still help people that way. But yes, and I do get people asking me that sometimes, like, why? But I've had a lot of obviously other things to deal with in my own life. So the where I why I sort of finally came to coaching is because I had to basically give up what I was doing when my mother was very ill, and then I ended up being a carer for my elder brother when he died from cancer, and I didn't decide to go back into that field. And I'd started off I became a certified grief educator, and it was from that. And I was talking about, they talked about the death of a relationship. Oh, and I was thinking, the marriage is the end of it, death of a marriage as well. And I was thinking, oh, but that's my background. And then I thought, oh, maybe I think about divorce coaching. And I was talking to someone who said, "Oh, you're perfectly suitable for it." So, with your nature and your background. So I then obviously went and did my, accreditations in that. And then I obviously, did a relationship coaching diploma as well, because obviously I can coach couples. So I can help couples stay together. I'm not necessarily, but also if they want to split, then I can help them split amicably. And then of course I can help them the divorce aspect as well. So, it's for me, it's very fulfilling because you're literally doing the life journey with people.
And what
Yeah.
what do you like the? When I say like, what do you find the most fulfilling part about it? Have you got any particular stories to share of clients' experiences? Obviously, don't name them.
No, I just think it's the light bulb moments that you have with clients when you're coaching, because the general rule with most coaching is that with the first question you ask and the answer they give you is not really the answer. It's the digging deeper. It's where you get to when you suddenly find, and then you ask them questions, and then you ask them more questions, and why this, and why this, and why this, and why this. And suddenly they're thinking, oh wow, did I do that, or has that happened? Oh, maybe I. And then they suddenly, when you see that, and it's like the light, you see that literally going off in their head. And I was like, it's quite, the moments like that are good, because then that's when you see the change. And of course, once they do that and they see that, that's when you start to get the move forward. So that's the part I really enjoy with clients, because often I can see, I'm thinking that, that's not really the reason. And then you're working with them, and then suddenly they see it. And of course, in order to make the change, they have to see it to take the step so they can change it to move forward. So yes, I mean that is fulfilling, but also basically, when I've helped people on a journey as they're going through, and we start off when they are, you've got no confidence, um, emotionally overwhelmed, very stressed, can't see anything clearly, no plans, and then you're taking through, and you've got someone who literally comes on to call at the end where they've they've sorted it out, they kind of know where they're going, and they're happy. And I think that's the thing that they've actually that they suddenly realize that they actually got through. And I've had one client say to me, like, 10 months ago, I would never have thought that I'd be sitting here now, Celia, talking to you with this, having done this and feeling, and I've got, plans. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing. I kind of, I feel there's a future ahead, and I didn't feel that before. So that is very fulfilling.
It's a good feeling, yes. And just to sort of finish off with, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, as you know, the best way to divorce. We have a big resource hub, and that's available to employees and in the workplace, the whole
Mm.
corporate. Well, we've spoken a little bit about this in the past, but I wanted to talk about it again because I think it's one of those things that people kind of knows happening, but haven't really thought
Mm.
properly about. Is the impact of going through traumatic situations like divorce and arguing over the children and the co-parenting when you are at work and you have a job to do,
No.
and it doesn't just affect you. I know you have a few thoughts on that. I'd really like you to share them.
No, I do. I mean, I'm very passionate about, raising awareness of well-being in the workplace, particularly for people who obviously have going through breakup and divorce, and obviously any personal loss, because of the huge impact. Because when I was researching for my books at the time, my Fathers Matter books, and I was interviewing fathers, many of the fathers I spoke to in their high flyers, in their jobs, saying to me, I can't concentrate on my work, Celia. I'm thinking of leaving my job. All I can think about is, when am I going to see my children again? And basically the settlement, what's going to happen. And many of these people were leaving their jobs. They didn't feel they had the support. And it's like feeling, if I say something, it's a sign of weakness. Or if I don't say something, they're going to think I'm rubbish at my job because I'm not performing, I'm not sleeping at night. And you've got people making deals, and they're not in a fit state to do that. And then so many of the mothers as well, same situations, but the jobs, not worrying about the children, worrying about finances. And it's also the fact that it isn't something that's like going to be a few weeks. These things can go on for a very, very long time, which obviously also takes us back to our comments about trying to keep things out of the system so we can truncate the time that these people have, because you don't want years and years of it. But many people going through, and especially with children issues, because the divorce may go through and you still can have, if you've got parental alienation or any of these other issues going on, these cases can go on for years, because you're obviously that is a relationship that goes on, because if you get divorced when your children are two, then you've got a long way to go through. And I think people feel very conscious about talking about it, because they don't want people to think it's, oh, I'm going on about my problems at work. But there needs to be more support. It needs to be something that employers are aware of and provide for, and that there is provision for people, resources for people to go to for support, because it affects a lot of people. It's not, think about the number of people who get divorced. It's a huge amount, and that means
And
a
that's
lot of the
just the
workforce is
ones
going to be affected.
And that's just the ones who are legally getting divorced. Then, I suppose as a family lawyer, you were probably
Exactly.
mostly dealing with people who were getting a legal divorce, but there's a huge number who never got
Split.
married, and it's
Yeah,
even more
absolutely.
complicated.
All the cohabitees. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all those as well. So any relationship breakdown, the fact is, if you have, long-term relationship with someone and you split up from them, that will impact you as well, especially if you've had a child with them or something like that, or children. And obviously bereavement as well. And you get people who've had, they've had a divorce and then a parent or something's died as well. And there's a knock-on effect, this trauma. And it's you get triggers as well from your past things that you've had get triggered by something else, and some people will be more affected than others. Because what's the other thing I'm very interested in, and do a lot of stuff in trauma work and personal loss as well, and how we obviously those hidden wounds, as it were, come up when you get something else that's traumatic that happens to you, and wonder why does this has impacted me so much, because you haven't dealt with what's happened before. So
So
then
there's
it
that kind
comes
of
up.
there can be this sort of crossover between the sort of camel counselling, healing the
Mm,
past side, and then the coaching, which is much more future focused.
absolutely.
And certainly, if triggers come up, you have to deal with them. But I think for a lot of
Mm,
people within the divorce sort of scenario and dealing with the co-parenting, they often need to really, really focus on the now and the future and get to a safe space and then do the deeper work. Is that a fair
yeah.
thing to say, if they have
Yes,
that opportunity?
I think, yeah, I think obviously if you have immediate issues that have to be dealt with, then yes, but often you can't get to the crux of even those issues if you've got other issues in the background which really do need addressing as well. It's a case of really, I suppose it's a one by one case, individual basis. Each client's going to be different. So everybody's issue. This also makes the job very interesting, because we're all
Yeah.
unique, and how we process things is different as well. It's like saying to someone, or my ex was like that and this was like this. Well, no, because it's not the same. It may have similarities, but it's individual case, and it's like everybody has their own bespoke, you know sort of, but treatment really, as
And
for the coaching and for everything else.
and in our last 30 seconds, how would you sum up, whoever's listening to this or watching this, um, who are those people that they should actually be getting in contact with you?
Anybody who's contemplating, obviously, getting divorced, anybody who's just in the process of doing that, or along the route, in fact, anyone along the journey, because there's coaching all the way through to help.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Celia. And
Oh, thank
I'll send
you.
you links to when everything goes online, so you can leave links for people to follow and get more information. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And it did affect my team colleagues as well. It affected the whole team as such, and they were like, "Oh God, this is terrible." Oh, yeah, they saw me walking in through the door every day at work, and it was like I'd been hit by a car. It's very hard for employers and other people to simply understand this all. So, um, a workplace is going to be there for you. If you're off sick or anything, they will understand that. But this is something in which they don't simply can't comprehend with it very well. So it is something that should be put forward, and it should be part of a well-being sort of pack as such. Employers should have that, and before going to HR as well, um, there should be some sort of a reach out link or something that employers have agreed to, as such that you don't have to first of all go through HR or anything as such. That you've got that to hand. The tool set is there. So it's life. It happens. It affects your emotional state, your mental state, your mental well-being. Everyone at work, talks about your mental well-being, and it's very important. And it did affect me a lot, but my employer was there for me and helped me a lot. They have all these sort of well-being schemes and all sorts, and yeah, it helped me a great deal. But I just wish this could work for everyone as well that went through this or are currently going through this. It's a traumatizing event. I mean, especially because I was the respondent in the case, and it comes as a shock, and it's almost as if it's a grievance. It's almost as if someone from your life, your companion, has left, and yeah, it's very very traumatizing. And if my company was not there to support me, then they don't understand. It's not a very empathetic company, because you have to give sympathy, you have to give empathy in these sorts of circumstances. In essence, if my employer wasn't there for me to support me, uh, yeah, I'd probably not be in employment. It wouldn't happen. 100%. So if they didn't know what they're doing, then I would have probably left, or in turns, the other way around, they would have dismissed myself. It is a relationship between an employee and an employer. It is a relationship, and if that relationship isn't there, or if they don't simply understand these circumstances, then the relationship does come to an end. So it would have, as I said, it would either have been me making an exit, or they would have showed me the door. So I'm simply grateful that that didn't happen, and I just wish that more employers are there. The HR departments are there to give all the support that everyone needs. You have to speak up. You have to be open and honest. There's no shame in anything, and yeah, you just have to be confident and honest, and your employer, they will give the support. They will. They will. If they're a good employer, that is. Counseling was very important. Very, very important. Yourself, CZ, you put things in perspective, and you showed me light at the end of the tunnel. You spoke to me and showed me and said, look, when you email your solicitor, he will charge you. He or she will charge you. He would then read that email, obviously, and then respond back to you, charge you as well, and then he would forward on that email onto your ex-partner's solicitor, uh, and the circle starts then as well from that side. So they will then charge their client to read that email. They would then charge their solicitor would then charge their client to respond to them, and so forth. It's a vicious cycle. Please don't fall into that. And it's something, Susie, to yourself, I give my profound appreciation to you for bringing that light into my mind. You simply opened up my mind and brought that light into me. You always give the best advice. Every situation is different, and the biggest thing is definitely the Best Way to Divorce group. It helped me a lot. It put a lot of perspective into myself, and I will simply encourage others to follow the same path, because, as I said, solicitors are not your best friend. And they're not going to help you in that way. They're just a legal representative on acting on your behalf. That's all they are, and they're not going to give you any sort of best financial advice. They're not going to give you that. They're not your best friend, and you know, the best way to divorce group is the way forward. Put your questions forward into the forum, and that's the best way. You'll get a lot of help. 100% you will. I saved a hell of a lot of money. Yes, I did. Um, a lot of money I did save. Uh, and I simply encourage others as well to follow the same path. Your money is yours, and it's something that's hard earned, and it's the best thing to do. I saved a lot of money by following the best way to divorce group, and otherwise I would have spent at least a couple more thousand with my solicitor because I wouldn't understand things. So it would have required a few more Zoom calls with my solicitor, but you know, you can't beat your happiness. Your happiness is your key, and peace of mind as well. And the group gave me a lot of peace of mind. You speak with others as well. I think it's every now and again there's meetups. You get to converse with others. You get to hear the stories and all sorts. So the best thing to do is bounce and reflect off each other in the meetups. Hear each other out. Help each other as well. Share your experiences if you feel comfortable, and yeah, just reflect off each other. That's what the group is there for. Yeah, she was asking for horrendous amounts of money, and I simply put it onto her that look, it takes two to tango. This is both of our fault. It's a 50-50 thing, so it's better that we walk away and have our dignity and our self-respect. So it wasn't easy. I wanted to work with my ex-partner because I wanted to come to an amicable conclusion, but she simply didn't want to do that. So if you hand it over to solicitors, it's not practical. It's not the best way. It's not cost effective. It's more time consuming. So it's not the best thing to do. No. The best thing is if you can amicably discuss, do it. You'll save a lot of time and you'll save a lot of money. So the workshop, the workshop that I attended, yeah, helped me out a great. That helped me a great deal. There were various elements which I took on board, and it's sort of a way to heal, and it sort of brings in a lot of light into you. It brings in a lot of peace into yourself as well, and it sort of calms you down because sometimes you might get a little bit angry or anything, but it cools you down, and it brings in that element that hang on, you are a human being, you're allowed to feel, but don't feel angry, don't feel so bitter about things, and that's the most important thing that I took back. That it allowed me to close my eyes and to feel, to embrace, and to come to peace as well. And that's the biggest thing. And it allowed me to move on. It was a step out of many hurdles that I took, but it was a very big step that I took, and it helped me a great deal. My last bit of advice is don't take the blame on yourself. It takes two to tango. uh, you're not a monster, and you'll be portrayed like a monster, but don't take that blame on yourself. You are simply a human being. You're allowed to feel, and just yeah, and as well as that, as I said, the courts are there, and you don't see things that are going on, but trust me, things are moving ahead. It's a closed curtain, but they are moving ahead. Things are in motion, and just be patient is the most important thing. Just be very, very patient, and it will happen.